Let's turn now to Congressman Anthony Weiner, Democrat of New York, member of the Energy and Commerce Committee. Great thanks again for your time tonight, Congressman.
My pleasure. Thank you, Keith.
When insurance companies are not rescinding one woman's coverage because she once had acne, they're rescinding another woman's coverage because she's a victim of domestic violence, a culture of, insurance-wise, blaming the victim. Does that pretty much sum up the American health insurance industry at the moment?
Well, you know, it's frequently been said, and I said on your show, I don't think people in insurance companies are evil, but it's clear what they want to do is take in as much money as they can and pay as little as possible out in the form of benefits. That's the way they function. That's the way they make profits. And if you remember what the president said, there are three things we need to accomplish in healthcare. One, cover about 40 million additional Americans. That's good for health insurance companies. Two other things are going to be tougher, and that is making sure health insurance companies don't do things like deny coverage. And third is hold down costs. They have to take less profits or have lower overhead. What seems to be coming out of the Senate bill is we're going to say, okay, everyone has to go out and get coverage, which is good for health insurance companies, but basically everything the insurance industry wants, they're going to be able to keep doing in the rest of the bill, and that's the problem. This is why you need some element of competition so that they're held honest, but right now what's coming out of the Senate bill is so watered down, it hardly can be called reform at this point.
So to the point of Mr. Potter's terminology here, the Insurance Industry Profit Protection and Enhancement Act, if it's like that, wouldn't you have to vote against it?
Well, it sure has to have more than the Senate's putting in. You know, I keep hearing people say, well, the public option is just one element of the bill, but it's an extraordinarily important one, and your viewers need to understand why. If we leave insurance companies to their own devices, they have shown no instinct at all for saving money for the taxpayers or for their customers. That's not what they do. They save money, if they can get any, by cutting services and then keeping money for their shareholders or for bonuses for their executives. So unless there is some element of these bills that says we're going to contain that, then frankly we're going to be right back to the drawing board a couple of years later with exploding costs. And the same thing, remember, we didn't have the term pre-existing condition until we outsourced so much of the job of health care to private insurance companies.
One thread through many of these stories of rescission, of rejection of applications for insurance would seem to be this issue of gender, that obviously the overwhelming majority of battered spouses are women. Pregnant women who try to buy insurance on the individual market get turned down because pregnancy is considered a pre-existing condition. Have the reformers made a strong enough case to women, never mind political orientation, just the 51% of the people in this country who are women, about what reform really means to them?
You know, we have this kind of two-course argument going on in Washington where people say, hey, I like my insurance company, why do you want to change it? Yeah, they like it if they're in certain categories. One category of people that likes it are people that never have to get their health insurance, that they're healthy, they never have to dial the 800 number or wrestle with any of the forms. Another group that's far less happy are women, because they have different health care costs, and they have health care costs that are much more likely to be targeted by health insurance companies for denial. Many states in the country now have laws protecting women when they come in when they're having children. They only have those laws because there are so many abuses among insurance companies trying to deny coverage to pregnant women. This is one of the reasons why we need reform in this country, but more than just reform. We need competition for insurance companies. You can have all the reform legislation that you want, and what seems to be happening in the Senate is they're even watering down that language. So, look, I'm glad that the cooling saucer of democracy in the Senate is finally moving something along so we can get back to the path of doing what the president articulated, which is protect consumers from these abuses.
So ultimately, Congressman, are we back on the path to a good bill or not?
Well, not if we go, look, the Senate bill might be a starting point for something, but right now they have taken the basic elements of health care that the president said he wants, that the American people need, containing costs through competition and guaranteeing that we don't have abuses of people who have private insurance, and they've watered them down to the point where they're virtually meaningless. So if you just say this is only going to be about insuring more people, giving more customers to the insurance companies, without any of those protections, we're basically worse off than when we started.
Congressman Anthony Weiner of New York, as always, great thanks for your time.
Thank you, Keith.